I am really excited to welcome a new guest to the show, Desirée Townsend. Desiree, how are you?
I am great, Jason. Thank you for having me today.
It's great to see you. You're there in the rotunda of the Capitol. This is super official. And thank you so much. You and I are really meeting face to face, as it were, right now for the first time. You contacted me yesterday after seeing my amicus brief on the docket. I've filed this brief in Cook v. Trump. Why don't you tell everybody, the whole story and fill us in on what we're going to discuss today?
Yeah, so I am here on Capitol Hill. I've been working on trademark legislation for a little over a year now. And so I heard about the Cook versus Trump case, and I went to federal district court on Friday to try to watch the proceedings. And I unfortunately missed the hearing, but have been watching on Pacer, watching the briefs that have been filed. And I saw your brief filed, and it kind of piqued my interest because you were making some allegations against the attorneys for Lisa Cook. And so I went in and I did some research into what you were alleging. And yeah, that's when the this web sort of unfolded this morning. And so I wanted to speak with you about what I had discovered.
Absolutely. And it's exciting because, what I'm outlining there in the brief is Norm Eisen's ongoing pattern and practice of conflating 501c3 public charities that are organized under Section 170B A16, public charities that are not allowed at all to engage in politically partisan activity. Norm conflates these things
Well,
with
real quickly,
501c4s. Yeah.
can we, to the viewers who do not know, so Norm Eisen is the attorney for Lisa Cook, and Norm is also involved in Hollywood. So he's frequently pictured with people like Jeff Goldblum. So Norm was the ethics czar, believe it or not, of the Obama administrations. He's also a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute. And more importantly, not long or somewhere around the time Trump was running for president in his campaign, this fund emerges and these lawsuits emerge, and they're under the Democracy Defenders Fund. So if you actually go and look at the complaint filed by Lisa Cook, you'll see that Norm is one of the listed attorneys of record for Lisa Cook. So that's what kind of opened up my investigation into him and into this Democracy Defenders Fund, because the fund and the action. So he actually has two charities, quote unquote charities. One's called the Democracy Defenders Fund, and the other's the Democracy Defenders Action. And it's important to know that the distinction between these two. One is a 501c3, which is strictly a nonprofit, and the other is a 501c4, which is able to operate as can do political activism and things of this nature, which is not allowed under 501c3. So what I had discovered last night, I did a search on all the pending lawsuits I could find on LexisNexis that involved either Democracy Defenders Fund or Action. And there's about 57 that I could identify, and they all are targeting Trump or someone in his inner circle. So it's kind of interesting because you sometimes have vexatious litigants who will target and harass individuals. And I think Norm might be operating a bit like that, but he is operating in such a way that he's targeting the administration and his inner circle, and he's doing it under the guise of a nonprofit that's funneling the money to a 501c4 that is then paying his law firm and suing Trump and the administration and other people in his circle. So anyway, so that is kind of the background behind Norm, which is very ironic that he was part of Obama's ethics he was Obama's ethics czar, and he's operating this sort of, structure. But anyhow, I'll let you continue, but we're going to go into shortly what the donation looked like that I made this morning.
Yeah, I mean, you've basically summed it up there, is that Norm has made a practice out of conflating these 501c3 and 501c4 organizations. Democracy Defenders Fund and Democracy Defenders Action is just the most recent, really. And you pointed out that we were discussing this with Charles Ortel and Bob Bishop, that the money actually goes to Act Blue charities. So it's very confusing because he's got the fund and the action, and
yes,
you could easily mistake one website for the other.
And that's what's important. So I do terms of service and privacy policies. I draft them for many companies. And so if you actually go to the very bottom of the website of either one of these websites and go to either the terms of service or the privacy policy, that's where you're going to see the most telling information. So actually the terms and conditions. So go to terms and conditions or privacy policy. And essentially what you're going to see is terms and conditions. Yes. And it should be in the first paragraph here. Provided by Democracy Defenders Action, DDA, and Democracy Defenders Fund, DDF. So right there, they're operating as a joint organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is the proof right there. They know what they're doing. They're pretending on one side to be a 501c3, then they're funneling the money to the 501c4 secretly when you make the donation through here. If this is truly a 501c3, this terms and conditions should strictly say this is the Democracy Defenders Fund, a 501c3 organization, and it should have listed the EIN. Instead, they did not do that. They're blurring the lines between what these organizations truly are. And again, that is the same terms and conditions that you will see on the other site, the action site, which is actually the political, their political activism charity organization, if you will. So they are, from what I can tell, they're clearly violating the IRS policy and how they're operating. And if you will, so here's what happened this morning. I wanted to actually test out where the donation was going. So I went specifically to Democracy Defenders Fund, because that is what's designated as a 501c3. So I went to democracydefendersfund.org. and I made a donation. And as I went through the steps, actually, if you don't mind, can you try to make a donation through that organization? Let's show the viewers.
I did it earlier, and I don't want to do it live because I got to put in my address and credit card and everything like that.
Well, could you just click on the link to show them where it takes you? So if you go back to Democracy Defenders Fund, do you mind clicking on, make sure it's the fund? Okay. And now click on donate right there. Yes. Now, okay, scroll down to where it says Act Blue, and it says it's a 501c3 charity. See that?
Yep.
But what the viewers need to understand is when I completed this transaction, the receipt that I received, and if you want to show the viewers, the receipt that I received clearly stated that it was going to Democracy Defenders Action, a 501c4 organization. That is not what I donated to. I donated to a 501c3. I was under the impression I was giving money to a nonprofit, and to find out it went to the Action Fund, a 501c organization. That's not what I donated to. And even more telling is they weren't very bright in this con because they put the EIN number. So
that's just it. There's two separate. One thing I should say, we got to back up. It's important that we let everybody know that neither I nor Desiree are attorneys, and nothing that we're saying is legal advice, nor has any of this been proven in court. I speak for myself. Desiree, I haven't told you to say anything.
No, we're just speaking on our own. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, based on looking at facts and evidence in the public domain. Other people might look at these facts and come to other conclusions. This is the content of material that I've submitted in court. substantially what we're talking about is the content of those amicus curiae briefs. And
Right.
these are really serious allegations. So I believe these things that we're looking at here are criminal. But again, that hasn't been proven yet. So we're dealing with attorneys. We want to make sure we're careful.
I'm a donor. I'm a donor and I'm appalled because I donated to a 501c3, and to find out that's not what I donated to. I donated to a completely different organization. As a donor, this is breach of contract. As a donor, this is misrepresentation. As a donor, this is illegal. They should not have done this. I donated to a 501c3. Why does it say on here it's a 501c4? Why does it say it's a different organization? Why does it say when I put in the EIN number that it's actually neither of those organizations? It's something called the State Democracy Defenders Action.
Well, let me take it a little further for you here. So if we look up, let's just do this real quick, real time. If we look up on Google, Democracy Defenders Fund EIN, okay, that takes us to ProPublica, gives us State Democracy Defenders Fund. The EIN is 932740517.
Okay, that's a different EIN number than what I was given in this email.
That's the C3. So hang on, you're going to like this. This is the C3. And what we did was we saw their filing here. This is their 990 State Democracy Defenders Fund, and we can see that Norm Eisen is a director in that thing. So let's just take their EIN here for a second, and we're going to go over to the IRS. Okay, so this is the IRS. This is a government-controlled website. We're going to search for tax-exempt organizations by EIN. Just paste that right in there. Brings us to the State Democracy Defenders Fund. Okay, and we can get that same 990 that we just saw. I think it looks like a different mailing address in Concord, New Hampshire. That's super interesting. But we've got their determination letter here. And that's an interesting thing to look at as well.
Yes, because we want to see if it has Norm's name listed. Well, I guess it won't, because it's just a determination letter. Yeah, it's
right.
Not
This is just written to the applicant, but basically this is telling us the State Democracy Defenders Fund, and it's giving us all this information. And it says it's a 501c3 organized under 170B1A6. Now let's do the same thing, but let's do it for Democracy Defenders Action.
And also the EIN that came to me as part of my receipt from Act Blue, because again, I donated to a 501c3. Why is it telling me it's a 501c4? And then when I look up the EIN number, it's a completely different company.
Let's take a look. State Democracy Action Fund. This is what it brings up. Okay.
And there's 501c4, correct?
501c4, and they've been tax exempt for much longer. But here we go. It's checked off 501c4.
501, yes.
Okay. So is this the EIN you have? 81?
No, that is not the EIN.
Okay,
the EIN
we'll
I was provided is
hang on.
Actually.
Wait. Hang on. This is interesting too, because when we go over here and search by this EIN, okay, this tells us that thing is called Emerging American Majorities, even though we got it from an EIN that says it's State Democracy Action Fund.
Yes.
So something weird is going on there. So, okay, tell me, oh, by the way, people can follow you on TikTok. We should let them know about that. Cheerleader for Change. And then the next thing that I want to do real quick is tell me what the EIN number is that you got there.
I think it's important to go and copy it out of the Act Blue email, because that way the viewers can actually see that this is what was sent to me. When I made a donation to the 501c3.
Did you send that to me? Because I didn't bring that over.
Yes, it's the $5 contribution. Remember the Act Blue contribution? If not,
just read it to me real quick.
Okay, so let's.
But we don't show your address, right?
Oh, I don't live there anymore, so it should be fine. Hold on, let me get that. There we go. There's the EIN.
Oh, I see it. 931524544544. 93-15245544.
Correct.
Okay, and we search for that. Let's see what it gives us. So that's State Democracy Defenders Action. All right.
But again, I donated to the Democracy Defenders Fund. And now I get a confirmation telling me I donated to the Democracy Defenders Action. And then I dig in further and I'm told that I donated to the State Democracy Defenders Action. So they're using a fictitious name, the Democracy Defenders Action, when it's actually the State Democracy Defenders Action. I mean, I'm not going to nitpick,
No,
but it's
important.
it's a
a
fictitious
different name.
right? It's
important.
a different name.
So now wait a minute.
It is.
Okay, let's go back to ProPublica here. It's very interesting. State Democracy Defenders Action. Okay. Here we go.
So close to $4 million in revenue for last year. So.
Okay, so maybe that other one was just similarly named, but they're also using a different name. That's very strange.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it definitely warrants more of an investigation, especially with the IRS.
So this is a problem. So just the fact that
Norm.
they have directors in common, you can't do that.
They're all the same directors. So if you look at the fund, the Democracy Defenders Fund and Democracy Defenders Action, they're the exact same directors. I mean, even the website is the exact same design. The terms and conditions, again, they're operating essentially as one organization, but they're funneling the money to the 501(c)(4) and giving the impression to the donors, me, that I donated to a nonprofit, when in fact I did not. I donated to a 501(c)(4) that is engaged in political activism by targeting those in the Trump administration and his inner circle. So this Lisa Cook case is quite fascinating. Because of your amicus brief, we now have all this evidence to support that maybe Trump is right. Maybe there are people targeting him through the legal system, and they're using donors' funds to fund these lawsuits.
That's really the worst part of it, because you see, they've basically created a law firm masquerading as a nonprofit. And you're right. They're using everything they do is subsidized by our tax dollars. Now, this is the third amicus brief that I have entered. And in the previous two, one of them was in American Oversight v. Hegseth. There were other Norm entities that they're sharing payroll. They have the same offices. It appears that they've attempted to cure some of the defects here in that they seem to have different addresses, but that doesn't satisfy.
Right. I mean, there's multiple suit, Doe's versus Elon Musk, Barbara versus Trump. Let's see. We've got VOS Selections versus Trump. Susan Grunman versus Trump, WMM versus Trump. Let's see, Pedro Vasquez versus Kristi Noem, JGG versus Donald Trump, Jay Doe versus Elon Musk. I mean, these go on and on. There's dozens and dozens of lawsuits that the the Democracy Defenders Action and Fund are essentially paying. They're using they're using the 501(c)(3) to illegally, I believe, funnel the money to this is almost operating like a super PAC. They're operating like a super PAC when they should not be. And look, I'm all for people holding both sides accountable. I think both parties need to be held accountable in court when necessary. But the sheer fact that there's almost 60 lawsuits against Trump and others within his administration and his inner circle, to me, that does not look like accountability. That looks like a targeted attack.
Well, and it's certainly not tax-exempt activity. It is politically partisan activity that is strictly prohibited. And by the way, it's, they're not even defending this woman has committed mortgage fraud, and she hasn't denied it once. There's a ton of evidence that she's done that. So here we go. 501c3 are corporations and any community chest fund or foundation organized and operated exclusively for religious, charitable, scientific, testing for public safety, literary, or educational purposes. It doesn't say that you can be a law firm, or to foster national or international amateur sports competition, but only if no part of its activities involve the provision of athletic facilities
Okay,
or
now can you
equipment.
read the exception? Except as otherwise provided in subsection H, in which does not participate in or intervene, including the publishing or distribution of statements or any political campaign on behalf of or in opposition to any
Right.
candidate for public office. And
That's what
that's
disqualifies
the
them.
rub. That's the
Yeah.
rub. I donated this morning. I donated to a 501c3. This 501c3 took my money, funneled it to a 501c4, and
Right.
is essentially using it to target political enemies.
Correct. That is the rub right there. And the
Mhm.
problem is the IRS really historically has not prosecuted any of this. All of this activity originally came to my attention when I met Charles Hortel and started working with him. He's been looking into the Clinton Foundation for years, but this
Ah,
is really a pervasive problem that I really want to thank you again, Desiree, for bringing people's attention to this and for finding my amicus brief.
of
It's
course.
important stuff. And I also want to remind people while we're watching that they can follow you on X. You are Desirée Townsend, and people can find you at Cheering for Change. You've just begun posting on Twitter. You're more of a TikToker, right? I mean, X, I'm sorry.
Yes, I was on X for a while. It gets exhausting posting to every platform. But I'm just trying to make people more civic minded. I'm trying to get more people to come here to Congress to lobby for reform instead of rioting and protesting. Whatever change you want, come here to Congress, come to Capitol Hill, bring your legislation or your legislative idea and shop it through Congress. I just feel that as a population, as a society, we're following influencers that are not helping society. And I think we need to see more influencers here with their selfie sticks, trying to bring forth the truth that the mainstream media here does not cover, and also to try to encourage more people to get into politics and to try to do their own legislation and push legislation forward. I know there's a lot of issues surrounding immigration reform. Well, here's where you need to go. And so my next push after my trademark legislation is I'm going to be drafting a bill that largely models what was done in 1986 during Reagan, and to kind of come up with a new way of looking at immigration and some pathways forward for people so that it's fair for everyone.
That's great. So you've just recently moved to Washington, D.C., and it's good timing because apparently crime is way, way down. President Trump has,
It
brought in the
is. It's a
National
lot better.
Guard. That's
It's
good.
a lot better than last year. So it's a lot safer this year than it is was last year, and a lot safer here than it is in LA. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, that is true. The other thing is that Act Blue itself is doing the same thing, where they've got Act Blue Charities as a 501c3, and I think Act Blue Action or something like that as a C4. So this is not just a
Right.
one-off. Again, they're trying to say that Lisa Cook made some kind of clerical error, checked off the wrong box or something like that. That is not at all the case. This is multiple examples of people involving themselves, and I don't know that Lisa Cook is directly involved in this C3,
Sure.
C4 conflation, but she's certainly benefiting from it. I think we need to know more about where the money is coming from in her legal case against Trump. Who is paying Abby Lowell? Who is paying his law firm? Because, when we look at these 990 filings from the IRS, these are from, 2022, 2023. We won't see the financial activity of these things until
And
2026.
right, correct. Yeah. So I kind of believe there was a TikTok video I actually found about let me see if I can find it. It was Norm Eisen, and he was actually discussing immigration reform and how he is doing these lawsuits. And in the actual TikTok video, he's basically asking for litigants to come forward, for
Oh
plaintiffs. So
yeah,
I believe what he does is he either seeks them out,
yeah,
by maybe going to Lisa Cook and saying, "Hey, I'll fund your lawsuit." I
absolutely.
don't know if I don't know if Lisa Cook is paying for any of her legal fees. I'll be honest with you. I
I
think
would doubt
it
it.
might. I would doubt it too. And that's something that wouldn't be even. We wouldn't discover that until discovery. So,
But it's not
but what's
illegal for somebody else to pay for her
no,
legal
it's
defense,
not. It's
but it
not.
becomes
But
an ethical question, particularly if the money is coming from this type of legally questionable, allegedly tax exempt activity. It seems to
right.
be totally illegal to me.
It seems to be too, because again, I donated this morning my $5. I donated it to a nonprofit, and to know it got funneled to a 5014C that's engaged in political activism is that's exactly what I did not want to donate to. So, yeah, it's interesting. And then if you actually, there is this video. It's regarding, I don't know if you could see this. It's Norm discussing birthright citizenship, and how he's basically going to, let me see if I can get that centered. There we go. Anyways, so at the end of this video, you can actually listen and hear him ask for litigants. So they're looking for litigants to fight the birthright citizenship that Trump is seeking to contest.
And you know what? Norm actually is not shy at all about, first of all, boasting about using these lawsuits to hold Trump accountable, as you're saying,
Hmm.
searching for litigants. So the other thing that's happening is if we really start to dig into some of these things, because we've been looking at a lot of different C3s and C4s, the people that are donating to them, like for instance, Norm, as you said, is a Brookings fellow, and Brookings has
Right.
a related entity called the Lawfare Institute. The Lawfare Institute receives money from the Pritzker Military Foundation. They paid Alexander Vindman over $300,000 after he testified against Trump at the impeachment. And the Pritzker Military Foundation is in Illinois. And technically, when Ben Wittes and the Lawfare Institute go and do podcasts saying, hey, you can send, financial contributions to Lawfare Institute, that is soliciting funding in Illinois, because the podcast is heard in Illinois, and they are not registered with the Illinois Secretary of State. So a lot of these different nonprofit organizations really have a litany of problems in terms of violations, whether they are criminal or ethical or whatever. They're just not being investigated. So I want to thank you again, Desiree, for shining a light on this and helping bring people's attention to it. I know you're very busy there in Washington, D.C., and the rotunda is in demand. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss today?
No, I will be covering the Cook versus Trump case. So once there are upcoming hearings on that, I'll be attending. So I'll keep everyone updated. That case is very fascinating, not only for Lisa Cook's attorney, but also for the implications regarding the Federal Reserve. So many people may not be aware, but the Federal Reserve essentially is not under any of the three branches of the government. So that's largely the contention here, is that does Trump, as the head of the executive branch, have the ability to fire Lisa Cook as part of her being with the Federal Reserve? And that's kind of an important, I think that's something that needs to be tested and tried, because if you think of it, the Department of Treasury is under the executive branch and it manages fiscal policy. So why is the Federal Reserve not also under the executive branch? So I think it's good. Some important issues are going to come up as of this, and as part of this lawsuit. And I think everyone should stay tuned into what the lawsuit really is going to be trying. Is hopefully, is the Federal Reserve constitutional?
Well, that's a broad question, and I think I have my own opinion, but I think I agree with you. Well, I really want to thank you again, Desiree. People can follow you at Cheering for Change on X and Cheerleader for Change on TikTok. I hope you'll come back again soon, because there's a lot of interesting things that you're covering. There's going to be a lot for you and I to talk about. So thanks for contacting me yesterday. Thanks for appearing today. And don't forget, everyone, you can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth by going to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. People can follow me on X at JG_CSTT.
I'll give you guys a tour of the rest of these. So here's, this is more news crews. Let me show you guys outside here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see.
It's a nice day.
It's raining now.
Oh,
so
looks nice out the window
here today. Yeah. So anyways, so that is the tour of the rotunda. But I will keep you guys updated on everything happening on this case. And hopefully you'll have me on again soon.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Desiree. And thanks for watching.
Thanks,
everyone.
Jason.